Ramadan becomes prohibited, meaning fasting during Ramadan or fasting in general becomes prohibited, such as for women if they're on their menstrual cycle or during postnatal bleeding. It is forbidden for the woman to fast. They're not allowed to fast, even if they wanted to. And the reason for that is because during this stage or during this process, the woman needs nutrition. She's losing blood. She needs to make up for that. So it is physically harmful for her to fast now. It has nothing to do because she's impure. The impurity isn't physical. It is more of a, has to do with her physiology. She needs that extra nutrition to counter that which is losing. So for the woman who is in her menstrual cycle or postnatal bleeding, it is not allowed for her to fast. And making up her fast, inshallah, we'll come to in a few weeks when we talk about making up fasting. Another scenario in which it becomes obligatory for one to break their fast is if they fear death. An individual, for example, is about to die from malnutrition or thirst for some other reason. It becomes obligatory for that individual to break their fast. They cannot say, oh, I'm going to continue my fasting. If they die, they died with sin, because they did not do that which is obligatory upon them. So if someone, la samahullah, finds themselves in a case where it's life or death, if they break their fast, they will be saved. If they don't, then they're going to die. In this scenario, you must break your fast. Likewise, if you see someone else about to die, for example, someone is drowning, and you know if you save them, water is going to come in your mouth. You're going to swallow water. You cannot avoid it. But if you don't break your fast, that individual is going to die. Likewise, you must go and save the individual. Does this make sense? Okay. So in this scenario, go ahead. It depends. Diabetes, those who are diabetic, then it's up to a Muslim doctor to tell them what they have to do. So some diabetic individuals, may Allah heal us all, they have certain shots, insulin shots, which is enough for them, satisfactory. So all they need to do is put that shot, and they'll be fine. They can withhold from food and water. If that's the scenario, shots don't break fast. Injecting fluids through the skin does not break your fast. So go ahead and you're fine. Go ahead.
Now, swallow, not mucus, but like, I don't know what they call it.
Mucus, right. So, yeah.
Does that break your fast?
What they call a frog in the throat.
Yeah, that's what
right? So as long as that does not exit your mouth, right, you're fine. So let's say there's some mucus inside your mouth and you swallow it, that's fine. However, if it were to exit your lips, now you can visibly see it. Someone looking at you can visibly see it, and you were to re-swallow it, that would break your fast. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Okay. So those three scenarios, it becomes obligatory to break fast. Number one, during menstrual cycle. Number two, during postnatal bleeding. Number three, fear of death. Go ahead. Okay, so while performing ablution, by accident you swallow water. Again, you answered your own question, by accident. That which breaks your fast is that which you intentionally take in. But at the same time, you don't overdo it when you wash your mouth and nose. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, بَادِرُوا بِالْإِسْتِنْشَاقِ إِلَّا تَكُونُوا صَائِمِينَ. Exaggerate when you do istinshaq, when you take water and you through your nose. Exaggerate in the intake, except when you're fasting. Okay? There are certain scenarios in which it becomes preferred. There is reward in breaking fast. Preferred. You're allowed to break fast, and it's better. The Sharia actually promotes breaking fast, such as the musafir, the traveler. And the one who is ill, the one who is breastfeeding, and the one who is pregnant. These 4 incidents, it is preferred by the Sharia, meaning there is reward if you break your fast for the traveler. Now, who is a traveler? The scholars very slightly differ on the traveler. I like to take something that's clear-cut here in America. It's clear-cut. We have a number we can go by, which is 82 to 86 kilometers, comes out to 52 miles, around 52, 55 miles. Okay, so if you go one way, 55 miles plus, right, then you are a musafir. You are a traveler. You can break your fast. Now the question comes, us here in Orange County, those who commute to Los Angeles. If you go towards the central or northern part of Los Angeles, that's a good 60 miles, 50, 60 miles. You commute every day. So what should you do when it comes to breaking fast? I recommend that you stay fasting. So you can take from the environment, the atmosphere of Ramadan, and one way or another you're gonna redo your fasting. Okay? So that's my recommendation. However, if you're going down to San Diego, which is much farther, you're talking about 80 kilometers, 80 miles, right? You can break your fast, no problem. But if it's a daily commute, going back and forth, something like Los Angeles, it shouldn't be any sort of difficulty to continue your fasting. But if it's a long distance, again, it's better to break your fast, especially if you're traveling overseas, very, very tiring, or traveling long distance, for example, here to Chicago or to New York, break your fast. Number 2, the one who is ill. Now, technically speaking, if someone has some sort of pain, they could be ill. They can be considered ill or sick. A minor cold, right? Or some sort of injury in, let's say less than a fracture. Someone bruised their leg or their arm. It's a little bit painful, but they can get by, right? So when is breaking fast for the sake of illness allowed? The scholars describe it as being, if you were to continue fasting, it would increase in your illness or prolong it. Okay? If you were to fast, it will increase in your illness or prolong it. I have a cold. It's Ramadan. I know if I continue fasting, it's not going to affect my illness. My cold will be done in a day or two. It's a 24-hour fever, as they call it. I'll be fine. Right? Should I break my fast? No. So long as, again, it's not severe. A minor cold is going to go away. It's not really affecting me. Stay fasting. However, if someone has a flu, and they know, I don't eat, this flu, instead of being 3 days long, it's going to be 5, 6 days long. Break your fast. Right? I have the flu. If I don't start drinking, it's going to increase in my fever, for example. Right? Break your fast. That's not obligatory, but it's definitely recommended. Number 3, the one who is breastfeeding and the one who is pregnant. We all know how much nutrition they need, how tiring it is on the woman during these phases. So it's allowed for her to break her fast. Now obviously one who's these breastfeeding and pregnancy is a long period of time, it'll take up all of Ramadan normally. That's fine. Break your fast all of Ramadan. Take care of yourself. Don't harm yourself. Don't make it harder on yourself when the Sharia made it easier for you. Something we need to understand more. Don't make something harder when Islam makes it easy for you. And then make up your fast however easy, the way you like. So you break your fast entire for that Ramadan, right? 30 days, 29 days. Fast 3 days a month. 3 times 12 is how much? 36. So you can easily do it throughout the year. Or save it towards the winter. In November, December, January, February, when the days are very short. Fast it, break it up, do 7 days each month over those 4 months, and you'll be fine. So make things easier on you. Don't make it hard on you. So those 4 scenarios, it is preferred for the individual to break their fast. The traveler, the ill, the one who is breastfeeding, and the one who is pregnant. Okay, any questions?
Something
The question is for the one who's breastfeeding, or we can make it a little bit more general, the one who has to break fast all of the time. Can they pay instead of making up? No, you can't pay. If you have the physical ability to make up the fast, then you have to make up the fast. That's what is prescribed. However, if you are no longer able, for example, those who are senior citizens, the elder, they cannot fast. The rest of the life they cannot fast for whatever reason. It is them who are allowed to pay the fidya, they call it, instead of fasting.
The Sharia says that you should make it easy for yourself. So when you are traveling and you have smaller flights, I mean, I find it personally easier to fast rather than to make up the fast in non-Ramadan. Is that okay, or should I? That should mean that I should follow the Sharia?
So the question is, shorter travels. We're talking about on an airplane, an hour flight.
Exactly. From
here to San Francisco, from here to Phoenix, Las Vegas, whatever. It is, someone can easily fast. It's not going to affect them. Again, the Sahaba, when they would travel, some of them would break their fast and some of them wouldn't, right? So, but neither would really look down on the other. They felt that both were equal. So it's up to you. But when you talk about longer travels, definitely break your fast. Especially if it's work related. You want to go perform work at your best so that you give the best image to Islam. And in another hadith, the Sahaba, same scenario. Some of them were fasting, some of them broke their fast while traveling. They settled down to rest while traveling, and now they need to set up the tents so that they can sleep and the fire to make food. So the ones who broke their fast were able to perform that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, ذَهَبَ الْمُفْطِرُونَ بِالْأُجُورِ. The ones who broke their fast, they are the ones who really gained the reward. Because now they were able to use their physical ability to do something else for the sake of the Muslims. So kind of look at it in that sense. If it's a short travel, you'll be fine. It's not going to affect your performance in work, then fine. Don't break your fast. But if it's going to affect your performance, make things harder on you, then break your fast.
I'm sorry, another question. A lot of people travel during the Ramadan to Makkah, and they are in Iran. And so during that time, shorter flights from Pakistan, India, people fast, most of the people fast while they are in Iran traveling for it. Is that okay, or they should not be fasting on 4 or 5 hours?
So the question is, shorter flights, for example, those who go from Pakistan to Mecca, from Jordan to Mecca, Turkey to Mecca, you're talking about 3, 4, 2-hour flights. Should they break their fast or not? Again, it's up to you. If you feel that it's going to be difficult for you, then the Sharia makes it easier for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes that, you take that which is easy. The Prophet ﷺ, if he was given the option between two things, one is easier than the other, he'd always take the easier option. I personally, when I used to go from Jordan to Mecca, I would break my fast so that I could do Umrah easily. Because now when you want to do Umrah, if you're going straight to Mecca, you're in your ihram, you're going to do Umrah immediately. Or maybe you rest in the hotel for a few hours, but you're going to do it that day. And if you're fasting, you don't have that nutrition, now you're talking about you're going to do about 1.5 miles walking in that heat with all the people. Break your fast so that you can perform that act of worship better. Now the rest of the days, if you're staying in Mecca during Ramadan, fast with the people. It's a nice experience. It really is. When you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, these people are waiting to break their fast. And I really witnessed this. I sat there a good hour before iftar time. They started putting these this plastic on the floor, passing out the dates and the yogurt and all that good stuff, the Zamzam water. And pay attention next time you go. About 2 minutes before the adhan, people become silent. It's just silence. You have 1 million people plus in the area, and it becomes silent. And they wait for the adhan. Imagine this. All the food is in front of you. You've been fasting 15 hours. It's hot. People are hungry. People from all over the world are there. They're looking at the food and water in front of them, and they're just sitting there waiting. And as soon as they hear Allahu Akbar, the permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they all at once start eating. It's quite a scene. If you want to know why, if Islam is the truth, go see that, and you'll know Islam is the truth. What is preventing them from eating? When they are hungry, they are hot, they need the nutrition, they're thirsty. They're waiting for the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no army, there is no security, no police enforcing this law. They're all sitting there looking at the food in front of them. And then all at once, they eat when they hear the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. So it's really quite something to witness. So I really recommend, if you're staying there, after you do Umrah, after you're done with travel, to fast with the people. It's quite an experience. But if you don't want to, again, that's your choice.
So the definition for the traveler is also depends on the duration of the stay?
No. Oh, well, it depends on the...
Because of muqim.
Right. So the question is the duration of a traveler. Does that also play a role? Scholars differ. Right? So some scholars say 4 days, such as Madhab Ahmed. Some scholars say 15 days, such as Abu Hanifa. But Abu Hanifa says that so long as you are traveling, you're not staying in that area, then regardless of how long you are traveling for, then you break your fast. Okay, so I think that's really the most lenient opinion, the opinion I hold. That so long as you are traveling, you pray, you combine prayers and you break your fast. Now, how is that? What does that mean? So let's say you're going to Pakistan for business or whatever. You don't know how long it's going to take. But you know you're going to be there until you're done doing your business. Again, you don't know when that's going to be. It could be a week, it could be 2 months. But you don't know. So as long as you're there, then combine your prayers and break your fast, if you want. Other questions? That's up to you. If it's easier to fast while traveling, should you fast? It's up to you.
The Prophet Muhammad said, the one who's breaking his fast is better than the one who's taking it. He's going by principle of the fast. It's not just how much you're going to get hungry or how much you're able to eat. So he's going by the principle of the traveler. So I think we know that what as long as you become a soldier or a traveler, then all people can and that's better.
Right. So again, he was making a comment about if you're a traveler, the Shia says to break your fast. So regardless if it's easy or not, break your fast. Again, it's up to you. It's recommended, and Aisha radiallahu anha said that it's not part of piety to fast while traveling. Again, you'll have opinions on both sides. But what I'll tell you, if it's difficult for you, if it's going to make things harder for you, it's going to weaken you, break your fast, definitely. If you're doing long travel, break your fast. Take the easier route. If it's a short travel, it's up to you. Go ahead, son.
Yeah, what I want to know, like, for the country, it used to be fast. I experienced it because I used to do myself, I think Warriors was how it used to be fast. Just take whatever to yourself, and then let's say I'm not more liquids. It helps you stay longer, faster, during the day if it's hot or whatever is going on.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Are you sure? You want to continue? We have time for one more issue, the issue of the intention. So we all know that every act of worship needs to be superseded by an intention. When you pray, you need to have intention that you're praying. We talked about intention a few weeks ago, that intention it has two branches. Number one, why you're doing that act. It needs to be for the sake of Allah. Number two, what exactly you're doing. Okay, are you praying? Are you doing something that's obligatory? Are you doing something that is recommended? So in the case of salah, are you praying the fard or are you praying the sunnah? You need to differentiate between your intention. Likewise, in fasting. Before you fast, before fasting starts, you need to have the intention that you are fasting for the sake of Allah and you're fasting Ramadan. Okay? Now, does one need to renew their intention prior to every single day of Ramadan, or does one intention before Ramadan, is that enough for it? No doubt that having one intention, prior to Ramadan, that I'm going to fast all of Ramadan, that's enough. Is it better to do it every day? Sure, why not? Because that helps you strengthen your intention, make sure it's always pure. Now, let's say someone accidentally intended that he's going to fast a sunnah. He's not doing it for Ramadan, he's doing it for sunnah. Is that allowed? Obviously not allowed, nor is it accepted. Anyone who intends fasting during Ramadan, regardless of the reason or what kind of fasting he's intending, it goes back to Ramadan. Because it's the only accepted fast during this time, therefore by default, it is taken that picture. Is it?
Yeah, I have a two-in-one question. There's a common advice that I get around the world from a lot of scholars. They say that if you pretty much are amongst those who are fasting, when you're like right before going to Jannah, there's 8 doors, and you'll be the first person who has priority to amongst those, that if Allah chooses you to be amongst those who fast, that you could choose which doors. And of course, like the door that's best to get into is Bab and Rayyan, because it's the highest level of Jannah, which is Al-Firdaus. So is this true? And say like you have a strong iman and you want to fast and continue and you're strong enough, but you understand that you're kind of pushing yourself, and then you die from fasting. And would that be like something that is like shaheed or not?
So he asked 2 questions. Number one, if someone is trying to fast as much as they can and they end up dying because they are fasting, are they a shaheed? We spoke before you came about this topic, that someone who fears death through malnutrition or through thirst because they're fasting is obligatory to break their fast. They have to break their fast. They don't die shaheed, they die with sin.
And if they do it without, if they die without, like if they just think that they're normal and they're fasting.
Yeah, if they think they're normal and they don't know, that's different. But someone knows they're dying of thirst, they're thirsty to the point where they're fainting. Now, break your fast. You have to break your fast. It's not an option. As for your first question about the 8 doors of paradise, and yes, that's true. There are 8 doors of paradise. One of them is Ar-Rayyan, for those who fast. There's one for those who pray, one for those who give charity, so on and so forth. But those details, it's the best of the doors of fasting. The door of fasting is the best of doors, and it's the highest level of paradise. Again, those details I'm not sure of. Good?
Allah said, كل عمل لآدم له إلا الصيام فإنه لي وأنا أجزي.
That's true. So fasting has a special reward by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or with Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that all acts are for Ibn Adam, are for the child of Adam, meaning for us. Except fasting, it's for me. And I'm the one who will reward it. Now what does that mean? It means that fasting, it's almost impossible to have an impure intention while fasting. Meaning having an intention for other than the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if your intention was other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you would eat and drink when no one's looking. But if you're fasting and you don't eat and drink when you're alone, then no doubt you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what it means. It's impossible for insincerity to enter fasting. Because if you're insincere in your fasting, you're going to break your fast when no one is looking. That's what it means. We'll stop there. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. وإياك.